Welcome to the Visegrad Insight podcast.
We bring you global experts on the future of democracy, security and economy.
The leading voices from Central Europe and on Central Europe.
Hosted by editors of Visegrad Insight.
Powered by Res Publica Foundation from Warsaw, Poland.
So welcome everyone. Today our guest is Mr. Jarno Syrjälä, Undersecretary of State for International Trade for Ministry of Foreign Affairs of Finland. Good morning.
Good morning and thanks for having me. Good to be here.
Yeah, today we'll be talking about the topic that about a year ago would be considered the most boring topic ever in existence and only interesting for people that are really involved with that, and the topic that is today probably the most important one and the hottest one. So things change a lot. And that's, of course, international trade. And my first question is about your experience, because you've been serving across multiple places, Middle East, Asia, United States. And can you tell me how the approach to international trade differs between those places? Because maybe that's a part of the problem that we are seeing right now that results in those trade wars and other experiences that we have right now.
Yeah, that's a difficult question to start with, but I think that in different countries you see so many different approaches to these matters, and it's obvious that geopolitical risks have clearly increased, and we have entered this kind of longer period of power politics, and even in this situation, so we don't see always the things same way. But nevertheless, I mean, we are still talking to all parties, which is important. And again, good conversations, good discussions, good processes can get things straightened out.
I'm asking about your personal experiences as well, because, well, both Poland and Finland are not the biggest economies in the world. And we have to find our way between the big and mighty, like China and US. Of course, Finnish economy is different because it's far more advanced in terms of technology. But could you tell me, how do you see the role of smaller states and their ability to defend themselves from fallout from the, let's say, struggle of giants? Can we do something or just brace ourselves for impact and hope for the best?
No, I think there are many things we can do. And I think in today's world, it's very relevant that we have coherent foreign and security policy. We talk to our friends, to our allies. We try to leverage those relationships, what we have. And for example, for what is common for Finland and for Poland is that we are both members of the European Union. So, of course, that is our family, and working there well in that framework well together. So I think we can achieve much better results than any of us could have alone.
Yeah, especially that European Union, as one of their prerogatives, has a trade policy as a part of it. Which limits to a degree what particular member states can do, to some kind of disappointment of, for example, Donald Trump, that thought he can deal with every country separately and maybe carry some favors with ones while punishing the others. So far, this unity of European Union has been maintained. Do you think that this unity is not in any danger and it will hold, or are we looking at some stress testing of this approach?
No, I think we have kept our lines very well together, and if we continue on this path where we are right now, so I think everything is going to be again better than what we could achieve any of us alone. But of course, that means that we have to work hard on these issues, and also we have to be able to show some flexibility in difficult situations.
Okay, the West was waging some sorts of economical warfare on the rest of the world for a long time in the form of sanctions and limits of exports or imports or quotas and whatnot. Now in recent couple of actually days, because it's less than weeks, China actually used its own tool, which is basically the access to rare earth minerals. Are we prepared to dealing with this sort of reciprocity from the rest of the world, or did we grow too complacent over time and thought about nothing can basically hurt us?
No, I think, you have to be prepared for everything in today's world, and I think some kind of reaction from Chinese side to the situation was, of course, to be expected, and nevertheless, I think we have managed to talk to them as well, and there is some kind of understanding. There are some kind of processes how we can process, for example, export licenses. Of course, the system is far from perfect, but nevertheless, there is a process, and we can try to always improve it, take it a little bit further, and of course, right now as we are speaking and waiting for example, President Trump to meet with President Xi, so we don't know what is coming out of there, what kind of impact those decisions that might be taken there in those discussions, so what kind of impact they will have on us Europeans. So that is still, we have to wait and see a little bit longer.
Isn't it concerning that this meeting is without the presence of anybody from European Union, that we are just passive kind of watchers of what is going to happen, and we don't have anything to say about it, while at the same time the European Union is probably the biggest economic entity in the world?
Yes, but I think it seems that the US administration and President Trump, so they want to deal with these issues on a bilateral basis, more or less, in many cases, and here we are, talking about two superpowers as well. So the European Union is that of course also especially when it comes to economy, but that we are not in that room, so it doesn't disturb me that much. Of course, it will have an impact on us, but again, I think that this will be not something very critical or something that will be do or die situation from the European perspective.
Hi, if you're enjoying this episode, why not subscribe to Visegrad Insight? This gives you access to all our latest content online, as well as to our live and online events. You can use our special promo code for Visegrad Insight podcast listeners to get 35% off. Just go to visegradinsight.eu, choose a yearly subscription, and apply code Visegrad35. And now, back to the podcast.
One more thing is, of course, we are talking about the trade war mostly between China and US, and the US was targeting with the tariffs, depending on various algorithms. Let's not go into details how those algorithms were created and how much sense they made, but basically this was kind of a targeted approach, while at the same time Chinese made their move against everybody. So can we interpret it as a movement towards the West as a bloc and not just the trade war between China or US, or is it just we got became a collateral damage of this conflict?
I don't know if you can use the word collateral damage there, but I think this is just, there are so many things happening here at the same time, many pieces are moving at the same time. So I think if we again talk about the Chinese behavior, so it's very difficult to say again how their motives are and how they are calculating what will happen. But again, I think that this will be an ongoing process. There will be probably some steps after this. Difficult to say what they might be, but I mean, this is not the end, definitely not the end of the story yet. So I mean, I think we will return to these matters many times again.
Do you think, talking about how the story may develop, my question basically was about whether this is just some kind of temporary volatility, or are we moving towards a different setup of the world? Let's call it Cold War 2.0, which is only possible if we decouple from each other. Is it a viable scenario that those two blocks will form, or are those connections so deep that basically no side is able to break them, and the trade will in some cases postpone or even prevent this scenario?
I would like to be optimistic here that at some point, I mean, we will reach some kind of equilibrium there. And of course, I mean, it's clear that we have entered this longer period of power politics, as I said, and hold this idea of multilateralism and the international trade system is challenged some of its principles. But nevertheless, I think it will take time before all these pieces fall into place. It might be years, or we will never see that, but that we have as calm situation as we had before. But again, I think there is still chance. I mean, we have to continue to promote kind of flexible system or approach to these things. And of course, I mean, for small open economies like us, so it's very crucial. And we have to be balancing this kind of openness and export-driven growth, what we want, with resilience and strategic foresight. So we have to be prepared for everything.
Now going back to Finland, because a lot of things happen in Finland, you could say there was a huge shift with Finland joining NATO. I wonder whether this move by itself changed how the trade policy and trade relation look like, both from the side of allies, but also from the side of, let's say it openly, Russia and its allies as well. Did this movement change anything in trade relations, or it was more or less benign?
I think many things changed. I mean, you cannot deny that. So I think for us, I mean, joining the NATO in 23, that was a major strategic shift, and it is already shaping our economic diplomacy or economic relations. And I think it's, of course, it reinforces our position in the Western security and economic community. And also, I hope that it will strengthen our credibility as stable and reliable investment destination in the future, that people see that also from that perspective. But there are many things that have happened here at the same time. So, for example, our cooperation with the United States is clearly deepening. This is happening from technology partnerships to defense and Arctic project, for example. And the US has become our most important partner outside the EU, both in trade and investment. But there, from recent times, there are examples. So just, I mean, a couple of weeks back, our President Stubb signed with President Trump a memorandum of understanding on icebreaker design and construction. And this is a huge thing for us. And I think as our economy is not doing so greatly right now, so we need these kind of signals coming that we can show results in our cooperation with partners. But I think, I mean, if you look at more broadly, so outside the US relationship. So NATO membership has opened new opportunities for our companies in defense industry or technology transfer and infrastructure investments across the alliance. So it has had a strong impact.
Just a question from a little bit different side. That joining the NATO, did it increase or decrease the sentiment in the society when it comes to security? Does an average Finnish person now feel more secure or less secure, taking into consideration that, for example, Russia is now threatening NATO members with attacks, while it was saying that outside of NATO it's safer?
I would say definitely that Finnish people feel more secure now. So it's I mean, the way this process joining to NATO, how it happened, and all the polls that were done, and then the decision by the parliament. So I think they show that people were looking for this kind of solution, and they thought that it will definitely increase their security.
Okay. Now, going back to the trade policy and economic policy, economic security is becoming more and more important. We were experiencing what does it mean to have disturbed logistic channels, starting with COVID and then a couple of times later on. What is the Finland's approach to its economic security, and how it impacts the trade? Is Finland trying to be more self-sufficient, or maybe change the logistic channels more to the friendly countries, or what is the general strategy?
Of course, I mean, as I said, so in this world, so you have to be prepared for everything, and so we have to be prepared for different scenarios in this world, and that's why I said that it's about the balancing this openness and export-driven growth and with resilience and strategic foresight. But what economic security, so how you basically also manage the dependencies and on different players, and how you do your risk assessment. So this is clearly more in the forefront, and I think that is understood from political decision makers level to the company level, so that everybody has understood that we are living in a different kind of the world now.
Yet another question is that, as I said, what differs Poland and Finland is the level of technological advancement of the economy, with Finland being far more advanced in this regard. Of course, this has its both pros and cons. We remember the times when the Finnish economy was double slammed by Apple, both on the side of Nokia and on the paper industry that was affected by introductions of iPads and similar issues. Where do you think the Finnish economy going forward and its specialization in this changing environment, both with respect to security but also technological advancement like AI?
I mean, first of all, I don't think the picture is that gloomy. So Nokia or paper industry. So I mean, Nokia is still there as a company doing well, and we are still manufacturing paper, so we have not lost everything. But of course, it's clear that Finland has reinvented itself multiple times following major structural shocks, and each of these reinventions has combined crisis-driven reform, investment in human capital, and a cultural shift towards innovation and adaptability. And I would say that in this kind of reinvention is part of our DNA, basically. And every time we have faced some kind of crisis during our history, so we have responded with reforms, investment in people. As I said, education is crucial. And that because we don't have that much raw materials, but we have people, we have brains here. And I think during the years, so we have this technological revolution or advancement there. So it's not happening by accident, and there is some decisions behind that. So like 2008 financial crisis let us build a strong startup ecosystem in Finland, and that basically fostered collaboration between universities and industry. And also foreign investors became more interested in Finland. And I think now this transformation continues, and we have to make sure that we have all the right ingredients. Of course, in addition to the people, so you have to be able to invest in R&D, for example, and there we have quite ambitious goals coming from our political decision makers. So by the end of this decade, 4% of our GDP goes to R&D, which it's quite a lot. So, but you need both the talent and then you need investments. And right now, I mean, we will continue working on many of the issues. And currently, if we talk about this kind of reinvention, so it focuses on, for example, energy diversification, which also was kind of a must after the brutal war started in Ukraine. So there is a transition to renewables, also nuclear, and then we are doing a lot with the Nordic-Baltic energy integration to have more sustainable systems. But then there is also, I mean, this kind of security-driven industrial policies, what we are doing. So we invest in defense, of course, cybersecurity, and the critical technologies. You mentioned AI, for example, but still, I mean, there's a lot to do when it comes to 5G or 6G or quantum computing, which is big here in Finland right now. And again, this kind of green transition, what was happening in many areas, there might be hydrogen, battery technology, or circular economy in general. So those provide opportunities, and we just have to use them. So we haven't done so well lately, but I think the future is still there, and we will be doing okay.
Hello again! If you're enjoying this episode, make sure to give us a rating. It really helps boost our platform and invite more guests for you, our listeners.
We and our countries are quite close together geographically, but it seems that we are quite far away when it comes to the consciousness of people, and our points of interest go completely differently. So Poland is mostly focused on East and West. Finland is, of course, focused mostly in case of Nordic countries, maybe Baltic countries as well. Do you see a field of increased cooperation with Poland, both with respect to security? We are one of the few countries that actually share border with Russia, but also cooperation within the European Union to strengthen its institutions, take into consideration they need to respond faster in these troubling times.
Yeah, I mean, of course, there are many opportunities there for our bilateral cooperation. First of all, I don't think that we are so much ahead of you when it comes to, for example, technology or advancements there. So, I mean, there is a great example of this company, Finnish-Polish company, which are producing small satellites now, ICEYE. And I think that was wonderful that these couple of guys, students came together and started a huge business. And they have done extremely well. So I think that's also one good example where we can cooperate. But when we look at the security environment, so of course, I mean, it's there are similarities there. So Finland, of course, we have the more than 1,300 kilometers of common border with Russia, and that of course creates a certain environment and atmosphere, and gives a totally different kind of backdrop to your security thinking. And I think in many ways Poland is in the same kind of situation, and that's why we both have invested heavily in defense and are ready to be active on that front, making no compromises there. So I mean, we have to be able to provide security for our own citizens.
One more question about European Union, and take into consideration that, of course, it's as usual very focused on its own internal problems. What is your view on the enlargement policy of European Union, and whether this is the road that EU could take to overcome its current problems, or this is something that we should park and wait for better times?
No, I think we have to keep this process alive and thinking so there. And I mean, it's the Europe is not yet in that sense as united as it should be. There are, of course, all kind of challenges here, but for us, for example, it's important that this possibility and chance to access the European Union, that is, for example, also open for Ukraine. I mean, we try to support the Ukrainian youth, but in a way we can. And then, of course, there are other countries, so we have to keep on working on the enlargement so that we can have a whole and secure Europe.
Yeah, I agree with you completely. It seems, however, that at this point there are certain quite artificial, I would say, problems created by various member states to block the enlargement process at the various points. The last question I have for you is the question about how do you see the future role of economic diplomacy, taking into consideration those trade war and rather hostile environment internationally? Do you think that, for example, agreements like Mercosur, EU agreement that was recently proposed, is the way to go for EU to get around the problem of two giants fighting on the international stage, or should we be more careful of that?
No, I think we basically we are doing the right thing there. For example, with Mercosur. So in this kind of situation, so it's better to have kind of framework, strong multilateral frameworks. They are essential to ensure fair conditions for trade and investment in the future. And so we have to have a broad network of agreements in trade, regulation, technology. That's very important. And Finland, we will always continue to promote this kind of free trade agreements or EU trade talks, what are going on. And I think just because what has happened in the world, this current turmoil, so the EU is putting also extra effort on this. I mean, we have made huge steps now, not only Mercosur, but with Mexico, it was negotiated the agreement. Same has happened now with Indonesia. We are working on FTA with Malaysia, Thailand, the Philippines. At some point, we will continue with Australia, for example. So I think this is the way to go. I mean, we have to be able to have this kind of more predictability what these agreements bring us, and so it's definitely, as I said. So we in Finland, we are all for that.
Thank you much. Thank you very much, Mr. Syrjälä. Thank you for our discussion today.
Thank you. My pleasure.
And that's all from this week's episode of the Visegrad Insight podcast, bringing you the leading voices from Central Europe and on Central Europe.
Make sure to subscribe, and we'll be in touch next week.